Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. The VCT kickoff playoffs are coming up just around the world. Lots of reaction to the massive Sentinels versus NRG series happening in a couple of days' time. Zekken gives his thoughts as well from the Sentinel side, rather sarcastically it seems, suggesting that they have basically zero chance, but that's not necessarily the case when you look at the respective performances of these teams over the last couple of weeks. Very much interested your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. First of all, there was some debate actually here on the VCT Pacific kickoffs. So Gen.G won, can you believe it? PaperX were second. Now, obviously, we know that ZETA Division did not come particularly close. They made the play-ins, but they got absolutely slammed out of the play-ins, of course. As you remember here, they only won 19 rounds over 2 series. So that's not exactly ideal. And as of yesterday, or pretty much as of today, we are starting to see that certain coaches are getting removed from the team. So Junior is gone, it seems, from ZETA Division, and Carlisle has had his contract changed, his end date, from 2026 to 2024. So it seems like ZETA are seeing the results. They're seeing that they're not going as planned, and they are considering basically putting the pressure on the team, right? So either getting rid of coaching staff, changing some things around, seeing if they can get to a point where anything is actually going to be fixed, the team fundamentals are getting better, and if not, then they will, I imagine, blow it up and make some serious changes. Now, in the Chinese region, of course, we saw Titan Esports Club go down. That, of course, is RB, and, well, RB went to join the team formerly of DRX. Of course, DRX didn't even make it, right, to the Masters Madrid, quite surprisingly now. But as he goes on to say, my China journey, thanks for supporting me during this off-season. I'll take a break and I'll come back next season. So people were looking at this thinking, what do you mean? Like, you've only just gone there. Are you, like, what do you mean? Are you retiring? Are you calling it a day again? Like, is this all you're going to do? Because it's not like they look bad, and there are matches coming soon. So what do you mean you're going to come back next season? He actually clarified to say, all right, yeah, kind of bad English on my part. I just meant, all right, take a bit of a break during whole Masters Madrid thing, because the teams have some time to waste, or time to wait, I guess, if you didn't qualify for Masters Madrid. Not the best format as far as I'm personally concerned, but it is what it is. And this, by the way, is the bracket for the play-in. So this is coming up in just a couple of days' time. We have Edward versus Trace Esports, and then, of course, FPX versus Dragon Ranger Gaming. So the play-in eventually went Trace Esports' way. Pretty sure we saw this yesterday, and they play Edward Gaming, right? So did also want to clarify here in a second that the matches we see here in the semi-finals are not necessarily the same as what you might have expected based on the initial format announcement that was made. Because again, how are they coming up with who plays who here? Sure, Trace Esports aren't allowed to play FPX because they were in the same group together, but apart from that, then it's obviously free game, and who knows how they determine it. Now, they did say that they were going to determine it like this. This was the initial format that was revealed a long time ago now, that maybe was just a placeholder, but at the time it looked about right, potentially, and of course we saw Team 1 in Group C. And that is where the number 1 seed ended up in all the regions. You know, PaperX, Edward, of course, Fnatic, and then Evil Geniuses, if you want to believe they were the number 1 seed deservedly or not. They were all in Group C. But let's take the Americas. There's no way that Group B was actually 6, 7, 8, 9 seeds, because, you know, Loud were there, Lev were there. Like, there's no way those were 6, 7, 8, 9. And then the playoffs were meant to be Group A's number 1 seed, then the play-in winner, then Group B's number 1 seed and Group C's number 1 seed would face off against each other. So theoretically, the play-in winner would play Group A's number 1. But they then thought, well, probably that doesn't work, because what if the play-in winner was also from Group A, and therefore you're getting a rematch here to determine who goes through? Probably not the best. So despite the fact that this was supposedly the format, this isn't actually how it's gone. And if we look at the playoffs here from the various regions, we don't actually see evidence of this outside of the Americas. So, I mean, we'll just have a look at it now, right? So this is EMEA, for example. So Fnatic played Carmine Corp, and they were the winners of the play-in, so they should be theoretically playing Group A's winner, but they're not. They're playing Fnatic, who are Group C's winner. So it's clearly not been defined like this, and therefore people are wondering, well, okay, how has it been defined? How are they coming up with these groups? Who is doing the draw? Not even groups at this point, right? These are the playoff games. These are the important games. That's why people are looking at it saying, well, you know, are they rigging it for storylines? Are they rigging it for viewership? Is it scripted? Like, you know, we don't want to believe so, but when they have no transparency, it's kind of tough to, well, it's tough to stop people speculating on the outcome of this stuff. So anyway, these are the games in the Americas. We shall discuss especially this NRG Sentinels one in a second, because the general feeling is that Loud are going to have a hard time losing to Evil Geniuses on paper, but we'll see. I mean, Loud should really qualify, and even if Loud, let's say Loud were to lose to EG, do they deserve not to go? This is the other point that I have about this format is like, let's say Loud lost a 2-1 banger against EG, but Loud would still win that series majority of the time, I would say, unless EG are actually God mode. But, you know, theoretically, Loud have beaten, you know, Sentinels. They've looked comfortably like the top team in the region at the moment. But they can have a bad start to this series, lose one best of 3, and then they're done, you know. They can do perfect up until this point, which they have done, and then, you know, gets beaten potentially in one single best of 3 and then don't get to make it, even if they're better than like all of these teams. So I just think this single elim format, especially best of 3 single elim, isn't great. If it's a best of 5, then, you know, fair enough. You lose a best of 5 to any team, then, you know, justified. But still, I don't think it's ideal. But NRG Sen we'll discuss in a second. There was also, of course, further talk from Loud on their Ascent composition. Saadhak actually discussed it as well and came up with some of the ideas. And also some further reaction as well to Saadhak saying that he was, well, warned by Riot for shooting bodies of King during the series they played. I think it's worth a bit of clarification on this because I know there was some discussion on it yesterday. On my perspective and the community's perspective on trash talk, bad manners, shooting bodies, whatever you want to say. So, you know, the way Riot look at it, right, is they think it's disrespectful and it's a bad look for the game and therefore they want to shut it down and say, no, players, we don't want you to be doing this because it's apparently a bad look for the esports. It's, I guess, the way they look at it. So, you know, look, it is disrespectful. That's the whole point of shooting bodies, is to disrespect the other player, to, you know, teabag them or whatever. It's the same way that it is, as players always do, throw some insults across the stage. You know, stand up, let the guy on the other side of the stage know that you just smoked him in that 1v1, let him know that you dropped him from your team, and now you're beating him with your new player, so that's why he got dropped, or whatever the case is. And look, I don't think there's any harm in this. This is sports at the end of the day. Allowing these rivalries and these storylines to develop is part of what creates the interest in the game and allows players to express themselves and to, you know, come to blows with each other. Isn't that literally what we're doing here? We're going to war in the server, so why not, you know, go to war elsewhere as well? This is what I just don't understand about this feeling, is that, you know, if you're going to stop players doing that, then what else are you going to stop players doing as well? And we've even seen it before, right? Wasn't it kind of famously the coach of one of those Game Changers teams talking trash across the stage and all this, and, well, basically got fined or whatever it was as a result of it. Wasn't so happy, right? Wasn't so happy with the outcome of that. So, yeah, if you want to shut down stuff like this, then I think there's lots of other things you have to shut down as well. And to be honest, I don't really think it's going to work especially well. Like, Demon 1, is he going to stop? Like, are you going to be able to stop this guy from talking trash on the opposition, right? And, you know, what if he gets asked in an interview, like, are you going to smoke this team you play next? What's he going to say? Because if he says, yeah, we're going to smoke them, isn't that disrespectful? So, I don't know. It's a weird one as far as I'm concerned. But it was also talk, of course, about Sen versus NRG. Again, the format is kind of strange. That Sen have played so many games going into this tournament, even just during the tournament itself. Like, they've played 11 off-season matches, Sentinels, and they've played 265 rounds in this kickoff. NRG, EG, and Loud combined played nothing in the off-season and 255 rounds during the kickoff. So is this good or bad for Sentinels in the sense that they've played way more Valorant than the other team than NRG have, let's say, because NRG dominated their group. Sentinels didn't. They went through the play-in, so they've played lots of rounds, whereas those other teams haven't. So that means there's lots of rounds that they get to analyze. NRG has lots of VOD to watch on Sentinels, but at the same time, Sen have more LAN experience now. They have more stage experience playing these matches, and when Gen.G played DRX, that seemed to potentially play to their favor over in the Pacific region. But this game is going to be mega, especially when this is about a week ago now, where Ten said that as far as he was concerned, Sen, Loud, Lev were basically the best teams in the Americas, and he didn't really think that NRG were quite where they need to be if they want to win. But there's been some debate on this either side. Zekken actually gave some pretty funny comments on stream here discussing this NRG Sentinel series, and just before people take it too seriously, right, you know, Zekken, this is his personality, he's just trolling, he's being sarcastic, saying they've got no chance.
Yeah.
Blind man, not to be backside.
What's your honest opinion on NRG? I think we have zero chance.
Honestly,
I think it's a miracle if we win and an incredible disappointment if they lose.
Okay, I'll just blind.
Yeah, just ball, just ball.
Revealing area.
One market.
But I think this is one of the more difficult series to call of the season so far in some ways. Sentinels have looked very promising, and if you want to take the consideration that that group they got out of was very strong, I mean, they had to beat Lev to get through. then they had to make it through the play-ins, which wasn't an easy task either. And, you know, they got through the play-ins with relative ease, really. They pretty much destroyed MIBR, and then they needed to win one map against G2. They did it at the first time of asking, and then just played ranked effectively for the rest of the series at that point. I also wonder what Pancada thinks about this, right? Because Marv says, see you soon, of course, basically saying, look, we're going to play Sentinels in a couple of days. Looking forward to that one. Pancada is on Sentinels. But what does he think about Sentinels as a team right now? We haven't really seen him do much with or for the team as of late. I'm sure that, you know, himself and Zeltis aren't necessarily massively beefing, but it's definitely interesting, right? I know that whenever Zeltis loses a 1v1, people in the chat saying, oh, Pancada would have won that and all this, which is pretty funny. But, you know, I'm sure Pancada wants his organization to win in some respects, but also we might be thinking, well, if they were to lose, then maybe they might consider bringing me back into the team. But I think what your opinion is on this series depends to some large part on how good you think Cloud9 are and how good you think, you know, the teams from the group that NRG played in was, because they took down Furia, you know, pretty comfortably. Then they took down Cloud9. But Cloud9 looked pretty woeful, to be honest, when they went to the losers bracket, got smoked out by MIBR. So I think that's really the debate here, is like, depending, I think we know that Sentinels are good. I think there's no doubt about that. The question is, how good are NRG? And I'm not sure we really have enough information so far this season to actually make an assessment on that. Now, Noyan gives his thoughts, whether you think this is, you know, fair enough or not, but he basically is trying to predict the series, of course, in a few days' time now, and says that NRG are going to 2-0 them. Ethan is the best player in the tournament so far. NRG have showed almost nothing, and I think this is the other point, that NRG might have been very confident they could win the series that they played basically at a canter, so they haven't really shown their hands, and you know, I think that's probably true to some degree. Sentinels had to show what they've got to get through in the way that they did, but to be fair, when they played G2 and it didn't matter anymore, then they definitely kept some things hidden, I imagine. So his prediction is louder than NRG, but yeah, I guess I'll have to come up with a prediction in a couple of days' time, because as of right now, I think it's a very difficult series to call. So very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.